The Valve Steam Deck, or VSD, is a fantastic handheld gaming experience. However, there are some settings you should change to make sure you're getting the best gameplay experience and optimizing what can be terrible battery life. Without further ado, dock your VSD and follow along. You don't have a VSD yet? Not a big deal. It's coming soon. You're next on the list. So I'd recommend watching it anyway, and then watching it again once your VSD arrives. Let's get it. So starting off, how do you get into the settings menu? I know this sounds incredibly rudimentary. What is this, the Boy Scouts amateur hour? But we need to start at step 1. Pressing the Steam button, which is your best friend on this device, will take you to this menu here. Coming down here to settings with the cog icon will pop you into the settings menu. And this is the full settings of the device, as opposed to the quick settings menu if you press the button with the 3 dots on the right side of the device that allows you to quickly change the screen brightness, volume, set a frame rate cap, turn Wi-Fi and Bluetooth on and off, and other quick and useful settings. Some of the settings in this tutorial will be in the actual settings menu by pressing the Steam button, and some of them will be in the quick settings by pressing the 3 dibbly dots. Much like a cell phone, tablet, or any other electronic device, turning on airplane mode will substantially increase your battery life. But obviously your Wi-Fi and Bluetooth card is off, so you're not using any Bluetooth accessories or getting any updates from Wi-Fi. If that doesn't matter because you're playing an offline single-player game, consider playing airplane mode if you're on the go and don't have a charger. Night mode is incredibly convenient. It tints the screen to limit blue light in the color spectrum to increase natural melatonin production in the body and help you get a better night's sleep. You want to take it a step further? Use my coupon code in the description below for Gamer Advantage blue light glasses, and basically you've got a night mode on your eyeballs. If you are going to be docking this device, meaning plugging it into an external monitor or TV and casting your image out, leave this setting ticked, or else your aspect ratio is going to be all blowed out. There is a built-in microphone. I always keep it muted by default. If I need to communicate with my teammates via a communications app like Discord, I will turn it on manually, but for privacy, I don't want it constantly listening to me, and then me join a multiplayer lobby and people hear things that they don't want to hear. Go ahead and mute your mic, big dog. Starting in the general tab, obviously choose your native tongue. Then over here with battery percentage, this is off by default. No reason for it. Go ahead and tick it on. I'd like to know the exact percentage of my battery life. For you military types, consider turning on the 24-hour clock. Now, system update channel allows you to select from stable, beta, or preview. I recommend that 90% of you remain in stable unless you are a heavy user that likes to tinker and also doesn't mind things like crashes, bugs, and reporting issues to Valve constantly, because you are basically trying out beta features before they get smoothed out. So you Stallions, stay in the stable. Developer mode, pretty advanced stuff. Another video, another topic. In system, then advanced, enable updated fan control. Go ahead and leave her on. Why? Because it's the newer version, and cooling is very important in a small form factor PC like this. Also, I read an article that said it's good to turn on, and the internet doesn't lie, so go ahead and leave it on. Notifications, if you're a live streamer or YouTuber that screen captures gameplay from your VSD, I would recommend turning on disable non-critical notifications, because the whole internet doesn't give a damn about your friends list. By default, both of these are off. I did tick on hide non-critical notifications when in game, because when I'm playing a game, I'm trying to escape from reality. I don't need notifications, and this is incredibly useful. They separate not only a visual, but also an auditory notification. So if you just want something to pop up but not make a chime or chirp, you can set that. I generally advise turning adaptive brightness off in every electronic device, so you can manually set the screen brightness for any viewing situation. However, with the VSD, it is double critical you turn this off because it's pretty janky. I'm sure it'll get better with patches and updates, but as of now, it goes super dim and then maxes out and then really dim. I guess maybe the ambient glow from my alarm clock or something. It didn't perform any better outdoors, so just turn it off. Like I mentioned earlier, turn automatic scaling on, but if you are projecting to a monitor or TV and you are having issues, you can manually set your borders to where you can fill out your monitor. Now that blue light mode I mentioned earlier, you can schedule it, which I think is fantastic. On my cell phone, I have it kick in at 7 p.m. and then turn off in the morning, just to not scorch my corneas with extra blue light. Because we know the battery life on the VSD is horrendous, I would recommend setting all these to their lowest or one step up from the bottom lowest when you set this device down, and forget that it's turned on. It'll turn itself off and not drain the battery. For output device, I recommend leaving this to default. The VSD does a pretty good job of knowing if you have headphones plugged into the 3.5mm port on top, or if you have headphones Bluetooth, or if you're using the internal speakers. But if it doesn't switch to your desired source, this dropdown will let you select that here. Other than the built-in microphone, if you are plugged into a PC via dock, for example, I have the microphone I'm using right now, you could actually select a USB microphone for better audio quality. If you don't like the clicks, ticks, and chirps of SteamOS, you can turn them off right here. If you're having any issues with your hardware, stick drift on the thumbsticks, maybe when your trackpad is acting wonky, there is a diagnostic tool built into the settings notice it's under controller, test device inputs, begin the test. And as you can see, as I squeeze the trigger, depending on how hard I'm pulling it, it shows a value right there. Same thing with both analog sticks, which as you can see is zeroed out when I'm not touching them. So no major stick drift is registered here. Trackpads and also pressure, as these are pressure sensitive. So depending on how hard I press these bad boys, that is registered on screen. And keep in mind, if you do get stick drift, it's not the end of the world because these are hot swappable. Not as convenient as the Switch JoyCons, which simply pop on and off because they're modular, but there are disassembly videos on YouTube from Valve themselves and also iFixit. And for about $20, you can get the replacement thumbstick modules, which don't even require soldering, minus the capacitive touch sensor, which registers when your thumb is resting on the analog stick. But that's not even mandatory, and I don't even use that feature. So technically, they're hot swappable. You drop them in, but it does require a partial teardown of your VSD, which is pretty simple. Now, if you are having stick drift, you can come over here to calibration and advanced settings, and you can set your dead zones. If you're curious about dead zones, stick drift, and how to mitigate such things, I do have a full tutorial showing you multiple programs on PC to fine-tune the thumbsticks of a controller. If you're interested in that, that video is linked in the description below. In addition, you can also control the intensity of your rumble force motors or vibration, and you do also have independent control of the left and right, which is interesting. You can select your keyboard themes here. If you did opt for the premium or flagship package, you do get an exclusive keyboard theme, which is meh, and you can select that here. And if you want more themes, you get them at the point shop over here. Spend some of those real world ducats. If you're going to be using your VSD in desktop mode, I do strongly recommend that you dock it and then use something like a keyboard and mouse. But if you are going to navigate, it's going to be with the trackpad. That's the only way that you can really navigate the mouse cursor, and you can select that sensitivity right here. And by default, enable trigger click is turned on because, well, that's your left and right mouse click. This is another setting I recommend you live streamers and YouTubers click on because it will anonymize. That's not a real word, is it? It will make anonymous. It will randomize. It will mask the identity of your comrades, of your buddies, so you don't dox your buds. Make sure this setting is turned off. This is in downloads. Allow downloads during gameplay. No, thank you. I would also recommend leaving throttle downloads while streaming turned on because cloud streaming games requires rock steady consistency in your bandwidth, and you ain't gonna get that when you're downloading stuff in the background. I'd recommend leaving enable Steam Cloud on. It is on by default, but especially if you have another computer that does have Steam installed, so maybe you have a laptop or desktop that you also play the same Steam library on, because that will sync up your progress. So you can play a game on your full-size PC and then go in the bedroom or take a deuce in the bathroom, pick up your progress on the VSD, which is pretty cool. I don't share my Steam library with anybody, but if you have a significant other that's also a Steamer and you actually genuinely love this person, I would recommend sharing your Steam library with them so they can have some free stuff. Remote play is a fun feature. It's not really gimmicky because it is pretty cool. You can leave your actual full-size desktop on and play games at ultra settings from your Steam Deck, which is pretty sick. And it's incredibly simple. You log into the Steam account on another computer and choose other computer on your Steam Link. Now, you used to have a physical piece of hardware called a Steam Link, a physical device, but now there is a software application that you can run on pretty much any device, a baked potato, and do the same thing that this physical device used to do, thus making it kind of pointless. But that useless device I just mentioned, if you have one, which I do, and I'm going to be reviewing it on the channel in the near future, if you have the Steam Link from Valve, you can pair one right here, which basically lets you use your computer as a console, lets you remotely access your PC from like a TV with a controller. I try and keep my home screen as clutter-free as possible, and I don't really like to be advertised to. I know what games I want to buy, and I will go seek them out when I'm ready to purchase. I don't really need them marketed and pushed on my home screen, so I leave this off. If you log into your Steam library and you're thinking, hey, where's Jerry's tractor refurbishment or whatever your favorite game is, and it's not there, it might be hidden, and you can access all of your hidden games from home and then right here. And I have 13 naughty little games hidden right now. They're a secret. Don't look at them. And this is also going to be a close friend of yours over here in library. Add a game. You can add a game that is not specifically a Steam game. So a third-party game that's from a different launcher, such as Epic or GOG or Origin, etc. The single most beneficial tip or trick for extending your battery life is going to be setting a frame rate cap. And you might be saying to yourself, Kevin, the device does that by default automatically. What you're talking about is when you press those three dots on the right side of your Steam Deck and it pulls open the hardware shortcuts. And by default, the BSD is going to limit itself to 60 or 30 frames per second. But in my experience, the frame rate limit built into the VSD software only automatically limits the frame rate of games that you are launching from SteamOS. So if you're running any third-party launchers such as GOG, Epic, or Microsoft Game Pass / xCloud, a lot of times you will manually need to go into the settings of the game and set a frame rate cap there. I noticed this when I was playing BioShock through the Epic Games launcher. I noticed that I was averaging 230 frames per second at medium settings. And while I do want the most fluid, smooth gameplay experience, especially because I play primarily shooters, there is virtually virtually no point in going past the native refresh of the monitor, which is 60 Hertz. So I always target 60 frames per second on my VSD. Unless I'm starving for battery life and I don't have a charger with me, I might drop it down to 30 frames per second. There is a 15 FPS option as well. I would only use this in some kind of an animated novel or story game where you were literally just choosing dialogue and there's not any fast motion on screen. And to clarify the magnitude of a difference that this one setting makes, if I were to keep it at an uncapped frame rate, which I was getting about 230 FPS, keep in mind I'm only seeing the image refresh itself 60 times a second because that's the monitor's refresh, I would have eaten through an entire battery in 1 hour and 20 minutes. Now, setting the frame rate cap to 60 extended my battery life to an estimated 3 hours and 25 minutes. And if I set the frame rate cap to 30, 4 hours and 45 minutes. That is the advertised rating. Go ahead and subtract about an hour for realistic practice. Still substantially better than about an hour of game time with an uncapped frame rate. That is doing virtually no good for you because of the monitor's refresh rate. And how you are going to find out if your frame rate is actually capped or not is by turning on the performance overlay, which I think is a fantastic feature. Almost 100% of the time, I have this on level 1 or 2. A quick breakdown, off being nothing in the left-hand corner, level 1 being just your frames per second. Level 2, which is what I keep it on almost 100% of the time, gives you your GPU and CPU usage, your battery life, your power draw and wattage, your estimated remaining battery time, your current frames per second and input delay in milliseconds, your minimum, maximum, and average frame time, and then this little green line or graph, which gives you a real-time indication of your performance. Switching it to level 3 is going to give you some VRAM indications, and level 4 is going to give you the individual clock speeds for each of the cores on the processor. So awesome if you're running some kind of benchmarks. But for most people, I think level 1, 2, or off is going to be the most common. But right where it says game scope and 0 or 1 FPS, it was reading 230 frames per second, literally shredding my battery. Set a manual frame rate cap, not only in the Steam interface, but also in game. These are the settings that I personally changed immediately when I got my hands on the Steam Deck. I'm pretty proud of myself. I think I have yet to accidentally call the Steam Deck the Stream Deck, like the Elgato Stream Deck, which is impressive because I own and use both devices daily. I'm just surprised I've never gotten the two ladies mixed up. I have a ton more VSD tutorials coming in the near future, breaking away from the safety of the settings menu and getting into things more complex, like the desktop mode, where we can add third-party launchers, retro emulators, and as promised, the Steam Deck isn't going to be looking stock for much longer. One of these things is not like the other. Get customized, look like your brother. RGB kit, install another. Subscribe so I'll stop singing and run the outro. If you enjoyed the video, liking it helps it to get seen by more gamers. This information will reach and assist them as well, which in turn helps me grow this little channel, which I do greatly appreciate. Subscribe for more content like this. I cover news in the gaming community and industry, tutorials helping you get set up streaming and YouTubing, as well as honest gaming product reviews, keyboards, mice, headsets, controllers, mics, chairs, etc. There are some hefty exclusive discount codes found only in the description of my videos and only for the audience here at Gamer Heaven. Check out Into the AM for some of the sickest looking and most comfortable cloth to ever grace my gaming giblets. If you don't want to be scorching your corneas with harmful blue light, check out Gamer Advantage, the only blue light glasses on the market that look sexy and actually work. If you're looking for a custom controller that'll blow the competition's tits back, AIM definitively has the best bang for buck or price to performance when it comes to Xbox, PlayStation, and Switch controllers. Nope, they don't do Switch, but they do gaming mice. I said doo-doo. I have links to all my other platforms and socials in the description below. If you need a quick laugh or blast of gamer adrenaline, check my short form videos out at TikTok. To get in touch with myself and the Stallions and Stallionettes of Gamer Heaven, join the community Discord, and check me out at twitch.tv where I go live every other leap year on a blue moon if it falls into an odd calendar number and my pH balance is on point. Just kidding, starting June I'm going to be live streaming a lot. Thanks for watching. This has been AK40 Kevin hosting Gamer Heaven, and I'll see you tomorrow because I upload daily, all the time, 60% of the time, sometimes, most of the time. Peace.